So several people reached out to me asking to do a video on harmony and how to use harmony to add life to their orchestrations. They feel like they're stuck in the same rut of using the same 3 to 5 chords. You don't have to know the diatonic chord progression to understand these concepts, but it is helpful. Today's example, we're in the key of D. The song is in D minor, but this also is equivocal to D major as well, and any key that you choose. Because it's all math and patterns. Before we also start, there are other videos that I've done. If you want to check them out, there's a link above to previous videos. Talk about scoring from a script, scoring with synthesizers, my favorite VSTs, how I broke into the industry. I did a couple vlogs as well. So if you want to check those out, please feel free to. I would really appreciate if you give it a like or give me a follow. That'd be really helpful to my channel. So let's jump on in. I was actually working on a project this week, and I actually used a pivot chord, and I was like, oh, this is a great way to pivot into this conversation. And so I'm going to do a quick rundown of this process that I used in my score, and then I'm going to play it at the end to give an example. But what we're going to talk about today is the 5 chord. The 5 chord is the most powerful chord next to the 1 chord. Before we jump in, I'm going to be talking about things from the diatonic chord progression, so chords that occur within inside of a key. So if you don't understand keys, this may be a little over your head, but I'll do my best to explain as I go along. So this piece that I'm playing is in the key of D minor, okay? And the very last chord, as we transition to the next key, I don't have any tonicism. I don't have a 3rd or a 7th outlining in the harmony. I just have this voicing. 1s and 5ths, okay, roots and 5ths. I did that because I wanted to make it ambiguous. You can have it be a full fleshed out chord, but I just chose to have it be that voicing, okay? So what's going on in the pivot chord is there's a melody line that I'm actually using as my transition. So the melody line goes A, B flat, D flat, F flat. We're gonna call it E for the sake of this video and for my own sanity, okay? So what's going on here, the melody is outlining this diminished sound. Now, a diminished are minor thirds stacked on top on one another. This diminished sound, B flat, D flat, E, the other note we're gonna add as well to this is G. So these are all minor third intervals. They all have 3 half steps between them. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So these are all, okay. So no matter which way you flip them, they all are the same. But we're gonna use that to our advantage in our pivot, okay? So what's going on in the melody is playing this line. And then we do a hard shift we actually go to F minor in this example, okay? Now, but first we're gonna do probably the most basic one, okay? And the best way to go about approaching this is to think about this as this chord right here, this diminished thing right here. This is just a 5 chord, okay? Now, when I say 5 chord, I mean it's the 5th chord of the scale. So if we think about the key of D, D, E, F, or F sharp, G, A. A is our 5, okay? So if we approach it from the context of this is an A, we have a B flat, which is a flat 9, C sharp, which is our 3rd, E, which is our 5th, and then G, which is our 7th, okay? So this chord here is technically a 5 chord. So I could do that and go back to D minor. So I could go, sorry, I'm not a piano player. Okay, so that's the most traditional simple cadence approach to it, okay? What I'm proposing is that we approach it from a different perspective, okay? So if we take these notes and we take the bottom voicing, the bottom note, and we go down a major 3rd. So if we take our B flat and we go down a major 3rd, which is 4 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is an F sharp, this now functions as a different voicing as opposed to A, okay? This now with the bass note of an F sharp, this A sharp, C sharp, and then E and the G, it's a 5 chord, and the 5 chord of B, either major or minor. So you could approach this going from D minor to B minor, or you can have it go D minor to F sharp 7 to B major. Okay, so this is just one option. We're just using the 5 chord in a different context. Okay, the next one we could do is we take this voicing and we shift it to this voicing right here. We take our C sharp and we go down a major third. That's an A. Okay, which is what we just did. Okay, which is the very first one. Okay, the very first example that we did. Okay, so the next one we could do, we shift up again, which is one of my favorite ones, which is what I use in my progression. We're approaching it from the E diminished. Okay, so if we take our E and we go down a major third, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's just a C7 flat 9. And C is the 5 of F. Okay, we could also approach it going major as well. And I put a little 9 in there just for fun. And the last one, if we approach it from this perspective, is we take this E, we flip it this way. This as a G diminished, we take the G and we go down a major third. That's an E flat. E flat is the 5 of A flat, okay? Or you could also do the respective major as well. They're parallel, you could do either one. It's not difficult to really truly grasp this. Now, it does take some thinking in regards to finding ways to get from place to place, but if we're doing a hard transition like this, I'm doing in this example, it's pretty cut and dry. It's, you know, copy paste. So if we approach it from the perspective of going down a major third from whatever voicing you start on, that becomes the 5 chord. So obviously all of these have different functionalities, but they're all relatively the same. It's just approaching a different way to get to the same destination. Okay. Now obviously you can also add 2 chords to every respective 5 chord. We'll talk about that in another lesson. But just for today, I want you guys to understand that depending upon whichever way you voice your chords, you can have different interesting ways to get to a new direction. So I'm going to give you an example of this piece. Now we're in F. So to show you guys what it looks like here on the MIDI. Now, the progression starts on a different chord, not just the one chord, but you can hear the stark transition. It's a pretty big jump, but I'm masking it with this phrase to help make that transition a little easier. And there's lots of Foley going on. This is for a video game project. So there's a lot of the things to help duck that transition. But I'm just, like I said, just using a basic harmony structure to find a pivot transition point. So I hope this video was informative to you. Like I said, you don't have to be a classical theorist to use harmony in your compositions. It's pretty simple, and it's not as difficult as it's made out to be. I would recommend you guys potentially go through a previous score and find a way to transition from a key to another key. Take your sequence and modulate it. That adds so much life to a piece. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really appreciate all the kind responses that I've received and that people are learning from it. It brings me so much joy to be able to serve you all and to help you all on your journeys, no matter where you're at. So the next video I'm actually going to do it on spotting. I think one of the most important things that composers overlook. So finding where to place music in a scene. I'm going to show probably a couple projects that I've done, and then maybe show some other projects from some very amazing composers we can learn from together. But until then, you can check out previous videos that I've done before on composition and film scoring. If you've missed any, please subscribe, like the channel, tell your friends about it. All of it really helps out in the end. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.